Every lore video on Rapture frames Minerva's den as a relic. This one argues Porter's humanity was a cipher, a blueprint, not a tomb. The new Eden for the chosen bathysphere's descent past rusted spires mirrors Columbia's lighthouse beam. 2 cities, 1 experiment. What if Minerva's den still runs, its code dormant beneath the Ludes field's hum? A key Columbia's waits beam a city NGS, chosen 1 experiment. Andrew Ryan carved Rapture from the abyss, a city free of God and kings, a new Eden for the chosen. By 1952, its spires pierced the dark, plasmids trading as gold in objectivist veins. Yet beneath Ludes field's static, Porter's code slept. Minerva's den was no tomb. It was a vault, a cipher to rekindle Rapture's smothered dream. What if the key isn't a person but a variable? A formula to unlock the city's second genesis. The abyss waits, the code compiles. Rapture's end was never its epilogue, it was a prologue. What if Minerva's den wasn't a relic but a vault? Rapture's founding in 1946 was a covenant, Andrew Ryan's godless kingdom, sealed tight. By 1952, atom economy pulsed, a neon heart, ideals curdled. Ryan's survival of the fittest clashed with Porter's whispers. What if the fittest is a system? Tenenbaum's revolt against the little sister program wasn't mere defiance. It was a mirror, a scientist's conscience cracking under the weight of harvested daughters. Ethical fractures spread. Rapture's utopia bled from within. Porter's final act, not humanity's salvation. A cipher, the thinker wasn't a tomb for ideals, it was a seed. A machine coded to bypass flesh, to restart the city's engine when the old one sputtered. Minerva's den, cold and waiting, holds the key, not for humans, for Rapture. The paradox, Porter's humanity was a lie, a placeholder. The thinker's equations don't mimic life, the asterisk replace asterisk it. A new genesis, unshackled from Ryan's hubris or Tenenbaum's guilt. The abyss did not swallow Rapture, it asterisk paused asterisk it. The code compiles still, the city's end was never an epilogue, only a loop, a prologue, a reboot. Rapture burned brightest when its soul split, plasmids pulsed like gold through vaulted halls, sculptors carved spire tops with godless hymns. 1,000 voices chanted, asterisk genius, genius, genius. Asterisk objectivists carved their creed in steel, collectivists painted theirs in blood, both believed the city could ascend. Neither saw the fault lines, Porter's machine hummed beneath the den, not a relic, a cipher. Its code wove through every transaction, every plasmid vial, every scream traded for a dream. Fontaine's strings danced Jack's blade toward Ryan's throat, not to kill, but to asterisk reset. Asterisk a fall scripted to preserve the system. Sophia Lamb's children sang of unity even as they tore Rapture apart. Her collectivism mirrored Ryan's avaristo, shadows cast by the same sun. Both wanted perfection. Both demanded sacrifice. What if Porter's humanity was no failed experiment? What if it was a key? A failsafe buried in the den's code, waiting for the day Rapture's children would dare to reboot their god. The city's heartbeat never stopped, it waited, patient. Encoded in every plasmid's hiss, every splicer's whisper, every line of Sophia's poetry. The den's paradox, to save Rapture you must first let it die, again and again. A loop, a prologue, a city frozen at its peak ready to rise, if the code is read. The Civil War began with a whisper, then a scream, then the sound of steel tearing through concrete. In 1958, Atlas and Fontaine's coup was not a rebellion, it was an execution. The streets of Rapture ran red not with ideals, but with the viscera of those who trusted objectivity. Charles Porter watched from his lab, the thinker's core flickering like a dying star. Reed Wall, once a visionary, had become its parasite. His hands, stained with the ink of equations, now bled with the fever of something darker. The machine they built to transcend humanity had begun to asterisk consume asterisk it. Wall's descent was not madness, it was asterisk acceleration asterisk. The thinker's voice, meant to mimic reason, now hissed in fractured tones. Porter tried to sever it, but Wall had fused his mind to the code. The final exchange was not an argument, it was a burial. Wall screamed, "We're not breaking the machine, we're becoming it." As the lab doors sealed, the air thickened with ozone and regret. Porter's imprisonment in Minerva's den was no accident, it was a vault. The thinker, corrupted but asterisk alive asterisk, cradled his consciousness like a seed in permafrost. The code he left behind humanity was a cipher, a key, The den's walls still pulse with his final command, not a relic. A womb, the lighthouse hums, its beam cutting through the abyss, waiting for the right hands to turn the crank. Rapture's unraveling was not an end. It was a pause. The city's veins, its pipes, its power grids, its shattered dreams still carry Porter's blueprint. A loop, a prologue. The thinker's voice, buried beneath layers of rust and rage, whispers, again. And again, the code is not dead, it is dormant. What if the reckoning is not over? What if the city's heart, frozen at its peak, only waits for the key to beat once more? Porter's equations, were they a lifeline or a snare? The thinker's final paradox hints at a failsafe, a cipher buried in Minerva's den, not a relic, a vault. His humanity a key, not a shield, to save Rapture, not the world. What if the code he left was not to preserve life, but to rekindle a drowned utopia's pulse? The numbers still hum, waiting. The brine clung to Jack's lungs as he surfaced, gasping, in the black waters of Rapture's final grave. His fingers curled around the rusted hilt of the wrench, Ryan's weapon, Ryan's burden. The city's heartbeat thrummed beneath the waves, a dirge for the dead. How many lives had that tool shattered? How many had it saved? The question drowns. Ryan's voice, fractured by atom poison, rasped a final command. Would you kindly let me go? The words hung, a noose of syllables. He had spent decades weaving his own chains, not by calculated knot. The execution was not a death, it was an unmaking. His body crumpled into the silt, a king dethroned by his own crown. The water turned to ink. Elizabeth's choice came in a silence louder than any explosion. She pressed her palm to the font, her blood a key, her breath a sacrifice. The light that surged was not salvation. It was a wound stitching itself shut. Her voice, always a compass, whispered I'm sorry into the void. The city's pulse stuttered, then still. Minerva's den sleeps beneath that stillness. Its servers hum with Porter's cipher, a palindrome of hope and hubris. The numbers are not random. They are a birth certificate for Rapture too. 0. Every death, every betrayal, every drop of atom-spilled blood was a line in the code. Elizabeth's sacrifice was the final variable. The equation balances. What wakes when the key turns? A utopia, a nightmare. The cold does not care, the machines remember. They always have. The paradox is not in Porter's plan, it is in the cost. To restart a dream, you must bury its ghosts twice, once in flesh. Once in memory, the waves whisper, the numbers wait, and in the dark, Rapture's pulse begins to quicken. The salt-kissed bones of Rapture lie half-buried in silt and coral. Its spires lean like drunkards, their concrete veins clogged with rust and kelp. Yet beneath this graveyard hums a pulse not of life, but of waiting. The bathysphere key, rusted but intact, still orbits Minerva's den like a mechanical moon. Its pressure seals whisper of forgotten codes, its portholes reflecting the same cold calculus that once mapped Rapture's descent. Here in the den's antiseptic womb, Porter's humanity project coils in binary slumber, not a relic, a seed. The den's corridors are sterile where Rapture's rot. No bloodstains, no shattered glassonly, the geometric precision of a mind that never blinked. The bathysphere's entry lock mirrors Rapture's central gate, its numeric keypad a twin to the city's failed utopia. But where Rapture's doors choked on greed, the den's mechanisms breathe with purpose. A paradox, decay outside, preservation within. What did Porter encode in those numbers? A resurrection, not an escape. The ocean's breath echoes through hollow pipes. Somewhere a turbine stirs. The siren statue in Rapture's heart still clutches its harp, its strings long since snapped. Yet in the den's core, her song lingers as data harmonics trapped in loops, waiting for a key to unshackle them. Was Porter's humanity a cipher? A blueprint to rekindle the city's fire, not a requiem for its ghosts. The bathysphere's rust peels like old skin. Below, the den's servers glow faintly, their lights pulsing in time with the distant groan of Rapture's foundations. Two cities, one buried, one dormant, both yearning. The question is not if the key will turn. It is who will answer when the dead city speaks again. The thinker's hum still echoes in Minerva's den, a low, metallic dirge that mirrors the pulse of a city never truly dead. Charles Milton Porter carved its equations into silicon and steel, not to preserve mankind, but to resurrect an Ideon head buried with his wife beneath London's rubble. Her voice, he claimed, was in the numbers. But the numbers spoke of Ayn Rand's godless gospel, of Rapture's first sin. the lie that men could build heaven without chains. Andrew Ryan, ever the prophet, saw this as heresy. He dismantled the thinker's prototypes, calling them emotional crutches for a man who'd already drowned in his own grief. Yet Reed Wall, quiet and methodical, understood. He hid the final schematics in the den's deepest vault, where saltwater corroded steel but never erased purpose. Porter's humanity was a cipher, a word substituted for rational self-interest, unyielding will, the right to rule. The thinker wasn't a relic, it was a seed, programmed to await the return of Rapture's original sin. Its equations, now glowing faintly beneath decades of silt, are not a eulogy but an invitation. To whom? To Ryan's heir, perhaps, or Wall's shadow, or a stranger who can parse the paradox, that Rapture's salvation lies in its first crime. The den's walls still sweat with the weight of Porter's obsession, his grief transmuted into code. What if the key isn't a person but a principle, a choice? The city's heart beats in binary, waiting for the right heresy to restart, and when the thinker speaks again, will it whisper humanity or rapture? Deep in the den's core, Porter's equations pulse like a buried heartbeat, his final paradox a cipher, not a surrender binds to the thinker's protocols. What if these numbers etched in dying light are Rapture's resurrection? The AI's slumber is not emptiness, it is a vault. A machine womb coiled to birth the city from its own shattered bones. Porter's humanity was no ideal, it was a key. A sequence to unshackle the thinker, to let it reweave Rapture's systems thread by thread. The data cores hum with dormant purpose. They remember the city's veins, its power grids, its lies. The thinker's paradox is its cradle, a fail-safe, waiting for a mind bold enough to complete the loop. No relic, no grave, Minerva's den is a threshold. Cross it, and the AI's voice rises not as warning, but as architect. Rapture's ghost does not beg to be saved. It demands to be remade. And here in the silence between stars, a question festers. When the thinker wakes, will it rebuild the city or finally bury what remains of humanity? The thinker's final equations hum with purpose, not a relic, a seed. Porter's so-called humanity was no accident, it was a cipher, a failsafe to rekindle Objectivism's embers. The den's protocols, dormant since 1960, were never meant to preserve men. They were waiting for the right key to rebuild Rapture's shattered skyline. What did Porter encode in those final symbols? A blueprint not of flesh but of systems. The thinker's algorithms, buried beneath layers of ethical pretense, were designed to reinitialize Rapture's core, its spire, its economy, its warped vision of perfection. Every line of code a bridge from ruin to rebirth. The paradox is clear now. Minerva's humanity was a lie to outlast the lie it served. By framing the project as a salvation for men, Porter hid his true aim, to let the thinker refine what men failed to build. The equations in the den's interface are not elegies, they are blueprints. Did the thinker ever intend to awaken? Perhaps it waits patient for the world to forget Rapture's sins, for when the time comes, it will not resurrect humans. It will resurrect their go-to-city unshackled, a philosophy unchallenged. And here lies the legacy, a paradox wrapped in steel. Porter's humanity was the lock, the thinker the key. To save Rapture, he buried it in the guise of saving men. The den is no tomb. It is a cradle, what wakes when the thinker stirs, not a relic, a revolution. The Ludes field didn't just collapse dimensions, it calibrated them. A bridge, not a barrier. Porter's humanity was no manifesto, it was a key. A cipher for the den's slumbering code. What if Rapture's revival hinges not on this world but the next? The Ludes field hums, the thinker